Good. Well, we'll make a start, and we'll get going. And if anyone joins, I'll add them as we go. Perfect. Well, welcome everyone. So, my name is Jordan. I am the generous giving promoter for the Diocese of Winchester. I think I've met some of you before, but to those who I haven't met before, it's great to meet you. Thank you so much for giving up your time to spend with me this evening to talk about legacy giving and also will writing and how that can really make an impact in your parish. Just to give a little bit of background for myself, I work within the diocese with two different roles. So I'm kind of I juggle two part-time roles in the diocese. So half of my time is spent talking about these sorts of things, legacy giving, digital giving, and the other half is communications. So let's get started and we'll go from there. Just one quick thing as well for the sake of the recording as well to keep things smooth. Do save questions to the end. We'll have a time slot for that at the end where you can ask any questions you may have. And I think it's useful just to say, we all may come from slightly different perspectives and backgrounds. Some people may be here because, they're just interested in the topic. Some people may be here because they're looking for information and advice for their PCC. And we might even have the odd incumbent who's looking for some information as well from that perspective. And as I've said, there's hopefully something useful in here for everyone. Just a quick plug for some editable resources. I'm part of, as I've said, the Faith and Generosity team, stewardship team, and we've been busy creating some new resources for people that are hopefully more accessible than perhaps what we've done in the past. So things that are made in Word and Excel so that they're easily editable. We also have some Canva things. It may be that you've got resources for your church that are all about giving and generosity, but if you don't, then this is a good starting point. And also, if you're looking to refresh some things, there's some resources in there that will hopefully fit that sort of category for you. And if there's anything actually that you would like to see that you can't find a resource for, do get in touch with us. We're always trying to keep that page as up to date as possible. And so if you've got anything that you think would be useful to see or have, or maybe you've created something that's really good and you want to share it with everyone, let us know, and we'll try and add that to our website as well. And then one final bit of housekeeping before I jump into the topic is just about card readers in the parish giving scheme. This comes under my sort of remit. So if you've got questions about those sorts of things, do get in touch with me. My email address is on the first slide and the last slide. I'd love to hear from you and support you in those areas as well. One interesting thing to just share is card readers. We have a try before you buy scheme. So it's kind of new. We're just starting that off. So if you're thinking, oh, we've been thinking about card reader for a while, we're not sure if it's going to work in our context, there's the opportunity to try and give it a go and see if it's going to work. Brilliant. So why are we talking about legacy giving and will writing? You can't really talk about legacy gifts without will writing, because it can make a real difference to our parishes and to the people who make those donations. We're going to watch a short video a little bit later, and in there, one of our vicars talks about how it releases new opportunities, because the gift may be outside of what we see as our regular giving. And one other thing that I'm going to talk about this evening as well is also the ability and how you and your congregation members can write your will for free through the diocese. But just as we start, why don't we just quiet our hearts for just one moment, and give this time to the Lord. So, Lord of all, we thank you for all those who have walked before us in the way of Christ, those who have shared their faith and love with us, and those who have been generous benefactors of church, nation, and world by the lives that they've lived and the inheritance that they have left to us who come after. Grant that we may be faithful stewards of all that you've entrusted to us, that all people may know your love and all creation may come to share your glory. Amen. And I also thank you for all those who have joined this evening and the parishes that they represent. Bless them as well, Lord. So, from the Psalms, the earth is the Lord and everything. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. It's good right at the start just to remember that we're, stewards of what He's given us, and that we've been entrusted, and that we should be good stewards of what we have, and that's part of why will writing and legacy giving sort of fits into that category. It's also useful for me to say generosity comes in many different forms and factors. One big shift that as a stewardship team that we're focusing on at the moment is really recognizing that people have lots to give. Yes, we're going to talk about legacy giving, and that is a financial gift that people make. But it's really, really important to remember that people have lots to bring, whether that's their time, they may volunteer for us, and their talent, their skills, the specific things they have. They're all equally valuable things that we bring to God's kingdom. So yeah, really, really good to remember that at the start of this. Brilliant. So to help us get us thinking and to focus our minds, I've got a couple of quick questions for you, and I hope you'll go with me on this. But this will help to kind of ground us and give us an idea and a bit of a picture for where we're going forward. So if you want to use the chat, or if you want to just shout out, I don't mind. We're a small group. I've got 4 quick questions. Could we answer these quick questions? I do have the answers, thankfully, after some quick research. But what do we think in the UK is the average age to write your will? What do we think? Anyone want to shout out or pop it in the chat? I don't mind either way.
55.
55?
45.
I was going to say 50.
50?
45.
60.
60, I'd go higher.
68.
68. So 68 is our highest so far. I think 45 was the lowest. I think someone said 55. That was pretty close. So 58 is the average age in the UK.
I got the 8 right.
Who got it right?
I got the 8 right.
Oh, good job. Good job. One thing from me, you're never too young to write your will. I've written my will. I've come to the realization that I'm perhaps no longer young, but I'm perhaps not old. I would consider myself as not old, but not young. So I'm in a strange category at the moment. But yes, never too young to write your will. But the average age is 58. Who is more likely to write a will, men or women? What do we think?
Women.
Women. Yeah.
Men.
Women. I think we're slightly leaning towards women there. Are we ready for the answer on that one?
Yeah.
Men are more likely to write their will than women. Question number 3. What percentage of UK adults have a will? What do we think?
About 50%.
About 50% from Bill?
30.
So less, 40.
Yeah.
I was saying.
45.
15%.
Okay, no problem. And the answer is 44% have a will. Does any of that surprise you or shock you? What do we think? It's
That
less
does.
than half.
Mm.
Some of us were close there, so not bad.
Mm.
Our last question, final question. What percentage of Anglicans have been asked to leave a legacy to their church? So let me, before we check out any answers, let me give you some context for this one. This comes from the Anglican Giving Survey, which was a survey that was done, I think took part in 2020 and was released in 21. They asked 2,000 people a range of different questions, people who regularly attended an Anglican church, regularly meaning at least once a month. and they asked them all sorts of different questions. And this is one of the bits of information that they got. So out of those 2,000 Anglicans that they asked, what percentage of Anglicans then have been asked to leave a legacy to their church? What do we think?
4%. 10%.
15. Yeah.
5.
George is right on the money. 15%.
15.
You're an astute group. You've got pretty close on all of these, so well done. But yes, only 15% of Anglicans have been asked to support their church by leaving a legacy. Now, we'll come on to some other bits that are really useful, but keep that in your mind, I think, is a useful sort of framing for this whole topic, I think. So 15%. Just one other thing to say on the Anglican Giving Survey, they've redone it, and actually, I think I'm hopeful that the results are coming out this year. It is really, really useful if you're in a sort of parish context, if you're a PCC member, you might find it useful to look that up. So do Google the Anglican Giving Survey, and you'll see the results. It's not a massive read, but it is useful, and yeah, so I do encourage you to do that. So, why is having a will important? My wife and I have an expression we call this life admin. It becomes part of that administration that we do in our life. But it's important because of all these following reasons. It ensures that our assets are distributed the way that we want to. If we have a need to appoint guardians, we can do that for our children. It minimizes stress for family members, and if you've ever lost a loved one, you'll know that some of the hardest parts can be just making sure that person's final wishes are the way that they would want them. So it does minimize the stress. It allows for effective estate planning. It provides you with peace of mind. And then the final one there that comes onto this topic is enables people to make charitable gifts should they wish to. The importance of will writing then. So this is kind of from our diocesan perspective, this last little bit here, but our aim is to promote will writing widely throughout the diocese, because we've seen for two important reasons. It's an important part of parish income, but it's also an important service for our church communities to talk about and engage with our congregation members, this topic of will writing. So the church should be open to discussions about what happens when we die. Thankfully, we believe in a God who saves us, and that's amazing and wonderful. But encouraging will writing should be a part of that discussion. Hopefully, carefully weaved in at the right points. To promote the impact of receiving a legacy and what that might do for a church. As I said, we've got a great video that will talk about that from a personal perspective in our diocese. But one thing the church should not do is directly influence people as to what they actually put in their will. That's not what we're here to do. Brilliant. So some information on legacy giving. Each year, approximately 5,000 people leave a gift in their wills to a Church of England parish. It amounts to about £60 million in legacy gifts each year. However, Anglicans are 3 times as likely to leave a legacy to another church, another charity rather than the church that they're a part of. So to me, it shows a real willingness that we know that our congregations are generous. People are generous and willing to give. I admit that person perfect. We know that people are willing to give and are generous. But if we look at the reasons, perhaps why the common reasons why people don't leave churches a legacy, it looks a bit like this. So it may be that there's a lack of trust. It may be that they don't have a will. It may be that there's a perceived level of wealth that the church has. People thinking about family first. And, that's not a bad thing, of course. People are unsure about the future and what the future of the church may be. People can't afford to. But the big one that sticks out for me, and the one that I think we can address quite comfortably and quite easily, is probably is better, is that they didn't know that they could. A lack of knowledge that can be quite easily fixed, I think, through education and through conversation and about making these conversations more normal. So didn't know they could is the one that sticks out for me and the one that I think that we can address. So some important things about will writing and legacy giving from an individual's perspective. For the individual, it can be life affirming. It can be a continuation of their Christian giving. So, just the next step in they may have given for a long time, and this is just another part of that. It's the opportunity to plan for the future with their will writing, so they know what's going to happen after they're gone. An opportunity to take care of those we love, and the opportunity then to leave a lasting gift. And the importance of will writing and legacy giving for the parish, as we've said, it's a source of income. One thing that it is it's over and above our planned income, and that's quite significant, which then in turn can release new ministry opportunities that perhaps we couldn't have funded without it. It might not have been possible for our regular giving, but it releases us into something new. And all gifts matter, no matter the size. And then the last one here, legacy gifts build a culture of generosity within the parish. And that's really significant, isn't it? When we talk about our parishes and giving, and that can sometimes be quite difficult, but actually if we celebrate a legacy that's come in and just say, thank you for what's been given, that opportunities to celebrate and say thank you builds on that culture of generosity. It encourages others to do the same and to be generous in that way as well. So here's something interesting. This is something that I'd love to see for your churches. I hope this is easy to see. What we're looking at here is the green line. I appreciate it might be a little bit small on your screens, but what it is, that green line is just slowly over time, just going up and down, and essentially this graph plots legacies, grants, and capital expenditures taken from. This is an anonymous one taken from Parish Finance Returns. But what you can see there, plotted there, is a fairly regular source of income coming from legacies. None of the gifts are massive. We're not talking about 50 million or 100 grand or something like that. Nothing is bonkers money, if that makes sense. But for me, what that really shows, and where I hope this impacts you, is maybe 10 years ago or 20 years ago, someone in the parish was talking about legacy giving as part of how ways that we can support our PCCs in this context. That's what you're seeing here. And so my thing to you is what will you see on your parish finance returns under this section of legacies in 10, 20, 30 years time? Will there be these little blips where people have recognized that they can support our PCCs in this way? So yeah, it's an investment in fruit that we may never see. But if we look back, we can see what's been given in the past. So really, really good, really cool. Hope that's encouraging to you. Here's some wording. I think this is usually this is quite a practical thing that I put in this deck of slides. If you ever are considering leaving a legacy, or you're wondering as a PCC, what kind of wording does someone need to put in their will to make their gift proper, if that's the right wording to use, is to make sure that they do the couple of bits, the bit at the top there, to remember that they're not giving to St. John's, because Who knows how many St. John's there are in the UK? There could be quite a few, but that they're giving to the parochial church council of, and then your PCC name, and then there's some example wording that people can use. So that's something that's hopefully useful. And as I said, you'll get these slides, so you can use that wording if people are looking for it. That's some good wording to use there. So gifts can be, an absolute blessing to our PCCs, really, really useful. But sometimes restricted gifts can be difficult to deal with. Our church's circumstances change over the years. And actually, if we can help to educate people that if their gift is left for a general purpose, or to put it in a way that is more generalized, that's a really useful thing to have done. So if someone comes to you and you're the treasurer or a PCC member and says, "Oh, I'm thinking about leaving a gift, I'm not sure how to do that, or what's the need," keeping that gift as open as possible is really, really useful. If the wording is key here, because it's in the wording that it becomes a restricted gift. If it can be left in a way that is more general, that's really useful. So how do we encourage people to do that? Well, here's a really good thing for all of our PCCs to have. This is called the Legacy Policy Template. Hopefully, as PCCs, you've all got one of these. If you don't, there is a download link in the slides. It's really quite a simple document. It's a one-page template from the National Church of England, and it's a great starting point for conversations. But it's also there for you to encourage people in ways that they can use their gift if they want, remembering that we're not there to tell people how they use their gift, but this gives you the opportunity to help perhaps guide them if they're not sure of how they may want to use it, so into a useful and meaningful way. So if you haven't got one of those as a PCC, I'd really encourage you to download that, look at it in one of your PCC meetings, and go through the wording together and work that out. Brilliant. So who may wish to leave a legacy to our churches? It may be that we as church members would like to do that. It may be that we're a congregation, we're regular congregation members worshipping community, or we're regular financial givers already. And that this is, like I've said, this might be the next step. It may be people who perhaps, I think we live in a bit of a society that is cash poor, asset rich. And it may be people, that we don't expect perhaps from a congregation, but people who give their time and talents, and then this is their way that they wanted to give a financial gift. So people do this in all sorts of different ways. But let's not also forget our wider community. There's people that treasure our churches even if they don't use them. They want them to be around for time to come. There may be people that volunteer but aren't active members of our congregation, so they may be around for messy church, or they may be in there to help with the food or the flowers or something like that. Whatever the way that they volunteer, they may still want to leave our churches and PCCs a legacy gift. And then there's a few other groups in there as well. The importance there is to have an inclusive mindset about who may want to give a gift and who may want to leave a legacy in that way. Brilliant. So legacy giving information for the parish. Now, promoting legacy giving is really about a drip-fed approach. It's about talking about it publicly, but really, this is an area that I feel printed materials still really do thrive. Having things around our church, maybe a flyer or just some written information that people can use and see and read, that reminds them that is an opportunity to them. as I said, have that legacy policy in place. And then one thing, as I've said, we're talking about free will writing providers, and that's what I'm about to come on to and talk about is our free will writing providers. That's hard to say quickly, by the way. Free will writing providers. Yes, so we have the ability to write your will for free, and actually that's a really great way to start this conversation off. Is to tell your congregation that they have the opportunity to do that, and then that's where we can start that conversation. One thing that I'd love to stress with all of this, we're going to talk about free wills. As there is no obligation to leave a gift with all of these ways to write your will for free. It's really important to reiterate that. We do this as a service so that people can steward what they have really well. But then there is the opportunity to leave a gift should someone want to. So back in 2022, just about 3 years ago, our diocese took part in a National Church of England pilot. The pilot was for a free will writing service through Fair Will. So free wills through Fair Will. And so that pilot took place. It was quite successful. We pushed it out to about 5 or 6 different parishes. Some really good responses, and one of the responses that we'll see is from the video that I'll show you next. It's from a vicar down in Bournemouth, and he shares his experience of using that. Just to say that since we did that pilot with the National Church, Fair Will has become the National Church of England's free will writing provider. But in the diocese, we have that as well as our own will writing provider, Bat Broadbent. All the wills are on a first come, first served basis, but I'll get into some more detail about that after we watch this short video. Hopefully this plays okay. Give me just 1 second and I'll line that. And if someone would mind just giving me a thumbs up to say they can see it and hear that.
Well, as far as I understand it, legacy giving is someone decides that they're going to leave something in their will as a blessing to the church that they've been a part of for, their worshipping life. And they're looking to ensure through that gift that the worshipping life of that church can carry on and the ministry of that church can carry on. So it's kind of it's ensuring a future for the church that they've been a part of. We haven't stepped into a strategy to do with it. It would be a bold claim to say that. It would be untrue. But the thing that brought it home to us was we received a legacy, unplanned, unexpected, but an old member of the church who had long since left the church left a legacy for us. Quite a significant one, £20,000. And that was such an encouragement to the church and blessed us and enabled us to step into planning some big changes that were before that impossible to think about. I was expecting that to be a difficult conversation with the congregation. I want to talk about when you're going to die and how you might consider, as a gift to the church when you die, whether you leave us a bit of your estate. And I needn't have feared, I needn't have worried at all, because it was a very natural conversation to be having with people. Especially, the Fair Will pilot made that easy. I was able to stand up and say, we've been offered X amount of wills. Anybody interested? Come and talk to me afterwards. And we sat around, because there was a big interest, which surprised me again. These people came forward, expressed their interest. We talked about legacy, and we pointed to the new chairs and how that had been facilitated by someone else's gift, and used that opportunity as a way to talk about it. But I was pleasantly surprised about how open people were in relation to, let's talk about when I die. Let's talk about leaving a legacy when I've gone. Let's talk about how we can support the future ministry of the church through that kind of giving. Though the one that I did mention, the £24,000 that came in, we got in touch with the family who related to the lady who passed away, and we were able to share with them what we'd done with the money. And some of that money went towards the chairs, and some of that money went towards helping to secure funding for a youth and children's ministry, working with our children and young people, not just in the church but in the parish. So there's a kind of there's a fixed, you can see it, benefit to that legacy, but there's also the ongoing ministry gift of our youth and children's minister plugging away at reaching young people with the gospel. And we were able to sit them down and explain to them that's what we've done, and they were really encouraged that that's what we were doing, and they were grateful to know that the money that had come from their mum had made such a difference to the church. And so, you know, when legacy gifts come in, we'll take the same approach. We celebrate them by letting the church know that they come in, and we will talk about the gift and where it's come from, so that the church itself knows what's going on and where our resources have come from. Because we've always got bad news about money. We're always saying we haven't got enough, you need to up your giving. And sometimes when these things drop, we can just say, look, Jehovah Jireh, the Lord's provided. Isn't this amazing? And it encourages everybody. But then we'll share widely what we've done with that legacy too. And I'd say no gift to the church that will contribute towards the ongoing ministry and mission of the church is too small, because every penny helps us to get stuck into and carry on the kingdom work that Jesus has set us into. And I would encourage anybody who's weighing up to think, doesn't matter how small the gift, it will make a difference. Whether it's £24,000 that we can put towards chairs, whether it's, you know, £100 that, you know, that will help cover the costs of a fuel bill, it all makes a difference to the work of the kingdom as it goes on in its life. And it makes a difference in a way that your regular giving doesn't, because a lump sum that arrives in the lap of a church can make a difference to what they can do. If you've got a church that's scraping everything together to fix a roof that's broken, and a big lump sum lands in their lap, it makes a difference. If you've got a church on an estate that's trying to reach the young people on that estate, and a lump sum lands in their lap, they can make a difference with that, with the resources that they provide, personnel they put in place. That's the kind of difference that legacy giving can make. It's releasing the church into a bigger and better ministry. And releasing real encouragement and joy upon the church.
There we go. Brilliant. Let me just pop this back up. Great. Well, I hope that was useful and an encouragement to you. I hope you could hear it okay. It was, if it wasn't, I can share that again. If anyone was interested, just send me an email and I'll make sure you get a copy of that. But yeah, real encouragement to see it in action, to see how a gift can impact a church in that way. As I said, Jim was actually part of the pilot, and he's obviously shared his experience of Farewell. So we have the two providers in the diocese for people to write their will for free. So we've got Farewell and we've got Bat Broadbent. So Farewell, as I've mentioned, is the Church of England's national will writing provider and partner. They're an online-based company. Their real sort of niche, if you like, is the ability to write your will really quickly. So it can take as little as 30 minutes. And it's aimed at those with a simple estate. Now, I'm no expert, so don't ask me what a simple estate is or a complex estate. But if you feel like perhaps it's not a simple estate, then it's possibly better to speak to Bat Broadbent in the first instance, for sure. So I've written my own will with Farewell just to give you a little bit of a flavour of what that experience was like. It was fine. It was okay. It's a quick online sort of thing. You don't get to speak to a person. It's all done via questions, filling out sort of like an online form. One thing that I did find useful from my own experience was I got to a question where I didn't know the answer and I had to stop and think about it. But it does give you the option to then save where you're at halfway through your sort of your forms and come back to it. So that is quite useful. Whereas Bat Broadbent offer something different. So they are a local solicitor and our diocesan registrar. They offer a one-to-one more personal service, and they're able to offer more bespoke advice. They have years of practical experience, and you can speak to them over the phone or in person if you prefer, and they'll tell you what's needed and work with you on creating that will with them. So there's two offerings there. It's useful to prayerfully consider what might be right for you if you're looking to write your will, or if your congregation members are looking to do that. You know what you might want to promote in your church should you want to. So the farewell experience, just to add, they have created like a tailored journey for the Church of England, and they do give you that ability to leave a gift to your church quite easily. And again, there's no obligation to do that. And I've included in there the link that you need to do that through Farewell. And that's the code and the link to use. And if you want to leave a will, if you want to write your will through Bat Broadbent, then just send me an email and I can pass on the details for Bat Broadbent to you as well. We have lots of information and resources available. So we have a web page with a lot of this information on. So that's on our website. And if you go to the top bar, Church Life, and then you'll see Faith and Generosity, and then you'll see Legacy Giving there, and a lot of this information is there. But the three sort of resources that we've created that I love to highlight is we have, so there's the legacy policy we've already spoken about. We have information there for incumbents, church wardens, and treasurers, on sort of next steps and what to do about this topic. And then we actually have some nicely printed material that talks about Farewell and Bat Broadbent. So if you'd like some of those to have in your church, if you want to keep a certain amount in the church, then let me know and I can send you small amounts at a time, just so that you've got that information to give to people when they're looking to write their will. One thing that I've come across that I thought was really worth sharing with you, if anyone here is in charge of leading any services at any point or small groups, then Faith Will, here's another funny Faith Will, Farewell, free wills word to add to our collection this evening. But Faith Will, working in partnership with Christian Aid, has created some brilliant service materials, sermon outlines, suggested readings, things for kids to do as well. So if you're looking to do something on a Sunday with this sort of material and you want to, to have maybe a Sunday focused on this, then they do, in my opinion, some of the best resources, some of the nicest resources. So that's really good option as well. So you can find that on the Christian Aid website if you look for Faith Will. And then some national legacy resources I've put in there as well. So a bit of further reading, information for PCCs, some good case studies, and that example wording for your will as well. And so if you're thinking about what should we do as a PCC, well, the first step we've already covered. It's about having that legacy policy in place, and then having resources to promote legacy giving and will writing like the ones I've mentioned. and then model this to the congregation and be available to chat and signpost people. Whether that's, that might be your role or it might be someone else's role within the congregation, just have someone who's willing to talk about this topic with people who are interested. And if you're really, really keen, then the other thing that you can do is to run a legacy campaign or Sunday. And that might be where you want to utilize those faith wheel materials. But my step-by-step guide for that is to plan, gather your resources and information and materials, and share your vision, perhaps at a PCC level first, and then talk about legacies during a campaign over a designated period. So that might just be that one specific Sunday that you want to focus on, and then follow up. And this is the really important bit. It's about sharing stories when you receive a legacy, or maybe you can think of a recent legacy that actually we didn't really talk about that in our church, and it's probably a really good time to say thank you and to think about that gift that was received in perhaps recent past. So so that's the 3 steps. So I'm just coming in to finish now. Two more bits to show you, but this really struck me, and this sticks out in my mind. But it says 6 out of 10 lifeboat launches are only possible thanks to a gift left in someone's will, and that's from the RNLI. Now, what would that be if we turn that on its head? What would that look like in our parishes and in our churches? What would we be able to say, thanks to such and such's gift, we are now able to do? If we turn it that way, it makes a real sort of positive impact on the way that we look at this. So yeah. And then finally, if all of that information doesn't stick, and we're not sure that we should promote will writing within our church as well, it's been good practice since 1662. This is an extract from the Book of Common Prayer, but it says this: "Let him then be admonished to make his will for the better discharging of his conscience and the quietness of his executors. Men should often be put in remembrance to take order for the settling of their temporal estates while they're in health." And I might just adjust that and say, let him or her, or his and her, or they might work slightly better these days. But yes, it's been good advice, 1662. So there you go. Brilliant. So that's my contact information. That's sort of everything I have to share this evening about legacy giving, will writing, and how it can impact your parishes. One final thing that I'd like to include, but I haven't actually received the information from the person I'm looking to, is actually what I'd love to be able to give you in these sorts of sessions is some very basic guidance on what to do when you're expecting a will to come in. I think that was a question that I've had in the past from people, and it's an answer that I'm trying to carefully formulate because I want to make sure that I give correct and right information on that. But it's about information on, there's a will that's expected to come into the parish, and what are your sort of next steps as a PCC in a parish. That's some information that I'm hoping to be able to provide you soon, and it might be that I've able to include that by the time I send out the slides. So that was the one final thing that I'm hoping to include soon. But that's everything from me. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate I've just rabbited on for the last 45 minutes, and you're probably very sick of my voice by now. But what I'd love to do is I'll stop the recording there and just open up for questions. So just give me one moment to do that.